Hello, good evening to you and welcome to News 360. We are live from the News Hub here at Adesawe, Kanda. I'm Natalie Ford.
And my name is Alfred Okanse. Coming up in the bulletin tonight.
News 360 Headlines is brought to you by...
Participate in business of the house a day after staging a walkout.
Also in the bulletin tonight, meanwhile, it's emerging that some documents presented to the Cash for Seats Committee were forged.
Also ahead this evening, as the President prepares to deliver his second State of the Nation address, some members of Parliament question how he has handled security over the period.
And on our special feature tonight, we assess the impact of the Ghana Post National Digital Address System 3 months after its implementation.
And on the international front this evening, South Africa's Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa holds meeting with incumbent President Jacob Zuma over transfer of power.
We have details of these and more here on News 360. Our first story tonight, they were present in the chamber but will not participate or contribute to business on the floor of Parliament. The minority says they are protesting by keeping silent just to register their displeasure over what they termed the majority's disrespect for them on Tuesday before the debate of the Cash for Seat report.
It's Wednesday, a day after the minority staged a walkout over claims that the majority members on the 5-member ad hoc committee that was probing the Cash for Seats saga refused to accept the views of the minority's side for the final report. The minority decided to embark on a silent protest on the floor of Parliament Wednesday. Their silence at a point affected proceedings after the first Deputy Speaker decided to suspend a particular motion on the floor, but the majority leader disagreed.
Can we suspend the consideration of this one when those in whose constituency they are resume work, then we'll consider them?
We have a fully fledged sitting of the House, and the two sides of this House are populated by members of this House. So if any business is transacted, it's transacted in the name of Parliament. So we can go on.
Deputy Minority Leader James Kluchi-Aveji told me the protest was in reaction to the disrespect shown them by the majority.
So we gave them our views, they snubbed our views, they brought in what they think they should do to cover up. And when we walk out, we protested, they said no, we walk out. They did their own thing, they insult us the way they wanted to do it. And they want us to come and participate in the work. We'll come. If there are issues that we think we'll talk to it. But if we think that it doesn't concern much about us as a minority, we'll be quiet.
He says they will participate on the floor when the need be.
But if you say that if you come and things that concern the minority, you will take part, what do you mean? Because you are here as legislators, everything that comes to Parliament should concern you.
Definitely. If our views are being respected, we will continue to say and bring out our view if we feel that it's relevant. In fact, if we know clearly that it's something that will benefit the people of this country.
How long is it going to take?
We have not done anything that you will say, how long is it going to take?
The protest.
The protest.
Not to talk on the floor.
We are talking.
And when the president comes, normally from the minority side, I mean, there are heckling and all that. So tomorrow, are you going to be silent like the way you are silent today?
Heckling is not something that comes from the leadership of our side or from any side. But let me say about my side, we don't tell our people that heckle the president. But if members, sometimes you be there, they're at your back, you don't see them. Before you realize, they start talking, they start heckling. So those are things that are bound to happen or not happen.
Now let's remain in Parliament as the 5-member ad hoc committee that probed the cash for seat saga mentioned in its reports that some documents presented to it were forged. The Speaker of Parliament, after debate on the report on Tuesday, referred the matter to the Privileges Committee. But Chairman of the committee, Joseph Osei-Owusu, has told Evelyn Tengma he cannot tell when the committee will start work on it.
The 5-member ad hoc committee that was set up by the Speaker to investigate the cash for seed saga yesterday presented its report to the House. Well, the report exonerated the Trade Ministry as well as the Millennium Excellence Foundation. Now, the Speaker yesterday referred the matter to the Privileges Committee for further investigations. Joseph Osei-Owusu, who is the first Deputy Speaker, is chairman of the committee. What exactly is the committee going to look into?
What I heard Mr. Speaker direct was that documents that were presented to the committee should be referred to the Privileges Committee to look at and examine if there were any acts of breaches of the privilege of members. That was following from the finding that certain documents were forged by the committee. So if those things come to the committee, then the committee will look at what are the rules regarding giving evidence, statements by members of parliament vis-a-vis the constitution, and then determine whether any member of parliament, committee member or otherwise, had conducted himself or herself in a manner which can be considered to be in this breach of his privilege as a member.
So what time frame are we looking at? Because I don't think I heard a speaker give you time.
Because we are governed by the rules how committees should work. There are several other petitions pending, so this one will join the queue. So I'm not able to give any time limit.
All right, so a fact-finding committee was established to probe these allegations, and this is what we've been presented with. Dr. Edward Boateng is a senior political science lecturer at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. He joins us via Skype. Doc, thank you very much for your time this evening. Now, the minority, in protest of what they say is a disrespect by the majority, have decided to go silent in protest of this. Now, how will that affect the duty and the functioning of Parliament? And is that the best way to have registered their displeasure by the minority in not contributing to what happens on the floor of Parliament?
Good evening, Alfred, and good evening to the able listeners of TV3. I think that it's unfortunate, first of all, to have a situation where the minority, who are supposed in a way to hold the government accountable for the decisions that they make and contribute to policies, bills that are being decided upon in Parliament. Decide that one yesterday they walk out and today they are in, but they are not talking. Remember, members of the minority have been elected by their constituents to come and represent them in Parliament. So when they decide not to talk, of course, it's a disservice to the individuals that elected them and to Ghana as a nation, because once they are seated, is going to negatively affect any policy that they could have contributed to when they decide not to talk. But let's look at it broadly. Why I did in that? We're in a situation where in Ghana it's become that once you have the majority, once you think you have the vote that you can use to pass a bill, then it automatically results in closing your ears to anything that is said by the minority. So I feel that in as much as what they are doing is not right, I feel that they have a case. If indeed what they are saying were reflected, if indeed it is true that their views were not captured in a report that is so dear to Ghanaians, then probably what they're doing. Could they have done it differently? I think that for members of Parliament, there are several ways walk out, and we have seen it happen when the MPP was in opposition. We saw that a lot of time. Today they are there. We are only praying that in the interest of the people that elected them, they will refrain from the decision not to contribute to to debate.
I mean, so now as we speak, the Speaker has referred some suspected case of forged documents to the Privileges Committee. The committee has finished its work, presented a report. And now, would you say that the fact-finding mission for which this committee was put together to probe is what we have been giving? And as Ghanaians, we can go to sleep and say Parliament has done a good job.
Alfred, it's very interesting. It's interesting that a committee is a Parliament to probe into an issue. The committee comes out with a report that to the Ghanaians after. And then we wake up the next day to hear that certain allegations of fraudulent documents were presented. And that document was part of what the committee decided upon their final findings. This very document that were supposedly fraudulent were what the majority used in coming to the conclusion that exonerated the truth ministry. The question that you ask yourself is that, can anything good come from Parliament? Because then, of course, the other question is was the committee worth setting up at all? If a committee of that highest repute could ignore things that were considered fraudulent and use that as the basis of drawing a conclusion and presenting it to the floor of the House, then of course it raises a big question about the relevance of that committee in the first place.
Okay. Dr. Benya, thank you for your time this evening, and I'm grateful. Dr. Edward Benya is a senior lecturer at the Political Science Department, University of Kwame University of Science and Technology, I beg your pardon.
News 360 Skype interview is brought to you by MTN, everywhere you go.
All right, so dozens of demonstrators earlier thronged the Obras port in Accra to protest what they describe astronomical increment in petrol prices. They have accused government for increasing fuel prices for more than 11% between January 2017 and January 2018.
The demonstrators demanded that government intervene to arrest the increase in fuel prices. They explained that since 2017, fuel prices have increased more than 11%, affecting their earnings. The disgruntled members of the Concerned Taxi Drivers Association, Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, and the Industrial and Commercial Workers Union (ICU) argued the special petroleum tax on fuel had resulted in price hikes that have characterized its pricing. The Executive Director of Chamber for Petroleum Consumers, who doubles as convener of the group, Duncan Amwa, demanded that government reduces prices of fuel.
We are saying that if it was only down to world market prices, today petrol would have been around 11 cedis. If you look at ex-refinery price, unfortunately, the taxes are also rising, and we are drawing the attention of the government to the need to at least ensure that some of these taxes, it does something about them in order to stabilize prices for all of us.
He emphasized that the special petroleum levy on products had contributed to the increases and implored government to scrap it.
You introduce a tax that says, let us contribute a little for government so that government will be able to rake some revenue. Today, it's no longer 28, it's not 38, it's not 48, it's not 58, it's not 68, it's above 70. And we are still holding on to the taxes that will continue to lead us into the sort of quagmire we find ourselves.
Already, the National Petroleum Authority has criticized the leader of demonstrators, Duncan Amwa, for misinforming the public about fuel hikes, but he disagreed.
They don't understand petroleum issues better than some of us. Tell them to go and get their facts right. They were alluding to international market prices. We are telling them the taxes together with international markets is what is giving us pump prices in Ghana. They should go and check their facts again.
The demonstrators later pledged their commitment to present a petition to the Ministries of Energy, Finance and the Presidency. Reacting to the demands by the demonstrators, Information Minister Mustafa Ami, who spoke through a telephone interview, said the concerns of demonstrators would be considered.
People have a legitimate right to protest about anything that they do not feel good about. And so, for fuel price hikes, yes, it's fuel price hikes affect everything. Since we came, we have reduced a number of the taxes on fuel products. Since February, from $47 a barrel, fuel prices have continuously skyrocketed. It is because of our decrease in the taxes that has allowed us to have this rate. And then beyond that, we want to see that we should cut more of the taxes further. Government will consider it.
Now, earlier, energy experts Kojo Poku charged government to come clean on what the revenue generated from the special petroleum tax is being used for. He argued government needs money to fund its policy initiatives. Hence, it will be difficult to bow to demands for the special petroleum tax to be scrapped.
My problem is not with what Duncan is asking for. My problem is with politicians. You see, that is my problem. You see, look, politicians have to be A or B. MPP government is the only government that you can't put your finger on whether they are for austerity or they are for spending. Because you have to be for one or the other.
You don't see clarity.
You don't see clarity in that position, whether are they for austerity or expenditure. Where are you going to find the money from? So then you are quiet on some of these things, and Duncan and his group will now demonstrate. But look, you tell them that I need the revenue. Be honest with yourself.
Now let's turn to some other top stories this evening. And 3 months on after the implementation of the Ghana Post digital national address system, some Guineans still do not have any knowledge about the new address system. According to the Chief Commercial Officer of Ghana Post, Jonathan Ansah, close to 20% of the estimated 4.5 million homes in the country have been successfully registered.
As at Wednesday, February 7, the Ghana Post GPS office had recorded 350,000 downloads of the Ghana Post GPS app on Google Play Store. Out of this figure, 40,800 have been registered with 3.9 million unique activities on the platform.
The Ghana Post digital property address system is expected to make it easier for locations to be found across the country. Now, 3 months on after the launch, we are finding out here at Bokum if this purpose has been achieved. Can you direct me to your house?
Yeah, you just take, when you are taking the main road, you get to Sakumo Junction, you just branch to your left and walk like 20 meters away from the road. Then you get my house.
Okay, but what's your GPS address? Do you have it?
My GPS address. I don't have it right here.
Do you know about it?
I don't know about it at all.
Did you travel or something?
I didn't travel.
You've been in this country?
I've been in this country.
And you've been at Accra Pole?
Yes.
And you've not heard about Ghana Post GPS?
Ghana Post GPS.
Yeah.
Debut, minty kura. Minkuta touch. Ntino minty and about post office na some no so can no so minty biasa.
What do you know about it?
Federations.
And then?
That's what I know about it.
Have you downloaded the app?
No, please.
Why?
Nothing.
Baby, I'm meeting your corner. And this all be so be. So you should share the upper man then.
Ghana Post GPS. Uni address nibi.
Baby.
Uni madekro.
Pacha de. You want to me explain actually.
Baba.
Ebi wa mi phone. Mi phone any iPhone.
Some of them, I had to take time to demonstrate the process to them. Clearly, the education has not gone down well with the public. The office intends to rely heavily on institutions like the National Identification Authority, Bank of Ghana and the Electricity Company of Ghana to boost subscription to 740,000 by the end of this month. Within the first week of the launch of the application, it saw 130,000 downloads. Comparatively, about 220,000 downloads were made within 2 months, 3 weeks, which shows a gradual decline in the number of downloads as the days go by.
Once people are not having any reason to use it and they have other means, that is what is slowing us down. But once national ID takes off, we've been told that next month they are now going to roll out. So that has created a little bit of a gap.
In the next 2 weeks, the Ghana Post will roll out plans to start pasting digital address plate on the buildings of individual homes and private institutions.
We are supposed to tag 4,000 government, public, and certain dedicated buildings. Our plan is now ready to roll it out to individuals. So as part of the campaign, we've selected a couple of agents and we've given them territories within the country. And each agent is coming with not less than 50 agents. So talking about 10 times 50, so not less than 500 people we are recruiting, and they are going to go around the country. So when they come to you, first of all, they download the app for you, and then they help you walk through how it works. They will leave a flyer with you, and then they help you register your address if you need that assistance.
This is expected to start from areas like Dansoman, Kaswa, Tema, and the 3 regions of the north. For TV3, Kwabna Edu Jemfi.
So ahead of the second State of the Nation address by President Akufo-Addo, a senior research fellow at the Institute of Democratic Governance, IDEC, Dr. Kwesi Jonah, says the president could not fulfill his policy of ensuring that MMDCs are elected into office as he promised prior to the 2016 general elections. According to Dr. Kwesi Jonah, the president must address this issue in a State of the Nation address and also give definitive statements and clarity on the creation of new districts.
The referendum on the election of MMDCs and on the ticket of political parties can be held in 2019 when we are doing the local government elections together. So that is why it cannot be fulfilled in 24 months. And when the referendum, by the time the referendum is 24 months have already gone, and the thing has not been done.
On the creation of new regions, Dr. Kwesi Jonah said the president must give definitive statements and clarity on the need for new regions.
They are going to create a OT region in the northern part of the Volta region. Some other parts of the region are not happy about it. Then they've made their position known to the public. I hope the president, by clarifying the rationale and so on and so forth, regional creation, will be able to satisfy all people in all regions.
On the issue of vigilantism, Dr. Kwesi Jonah thinks the activities of vigilante groups are troubling signs and said the president must show leadership by addressing this in his State of the Nation address.
These are very, very troubling signs. Can we allow vigilante groups to be perpetrating the kind of misdeeds they are perpetrating in this country? Is it not time to equip our police in such a way that criminal elements cannot just attack them?
Now, the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, will Thursday present his second State of the Nation address to Parliament. Ahead of the presentation, some members of Parliament have been sharing their expectations, with security being a major concern.
I'm expecting that the President would address the state of security in this country, given the fact that in the President's State of the Nation's address the last time, he spoke about what he would do with the microeconomy, inviting private sector to come and help work with government to improve the economy and all that. I have seen in my constituency and across this nation, I have seen our traders, I've seen our women, I've seen people take on small entrepreneurial businesses, but I have also seen an act of violence from some members of our country who are intimidating, who are violating the law of order in our communities, to the extent that our people cannot open their businesses 12 hours.
In the first year, we try to stabilize the economy, as we are aware. In the second year, we have a Juma budget, which is meant to implement major of its policies. So basically, we are not going to learn anything. Maybe some updates on what he's doing, how far he is, and a few other maybe national issues that he will be talking about. I don't expect any massive, significant difference from what we know already and what is supposed to happen. It's all laid out. So we have an agenda.
There's desperation in all the young people especially, and that he was going to work to address that by creating jobs for young people. But the question is, has that been addressed. Last year, the president described the unemployment situation in the country as a time bomb that we were sitting on. Would we say he has been able to eliminate that time bomb, or it is ticking faster now? Why have they not been able to establish the 51 factories that he promised?
The reality, I'm very sure in terms of security, he will say that this country is safe, which is not true, because to move from Wa to the Fiemaman village, you can't. In moving, you are very afraid of armed robbers. So even in the village now, we cannot move and do things in peace. Where is the security? Where is our peace? So basically, it will be the same story of promises when the promises are not forthcoming.
I expect the president to give a very bullish view about how the economy is going. As you know, Ghana is projected to post some of the best growth rates in Africa in 2018-2019. Yes. In fact, we will surpass Ethiopia, Nigeria, you name them. We will be numero un.
Stay with us here on TV3, 3FM, Akoma FM, Connect FM, Onia FM, and 3news.com, all across the world on 3news.com as well. I've made various Facebook platforms and social media platforms. As tomorrow, we bring you a live coverage of the President's State of the Nation address and also the pre and post discussions right from Parliament and from studios here as well. But straight to the Western region, quite unfortunate story. A 38-year-old trader, Abdul Aziz Mumuni, lost his life after a mobile telecommunications mast belonging to Glow Ghana Limited collapsed on him on Wednesday. The mobile telecommunications mast was fixed on top of a 4-story building at the Kojokrom Kwesimentim Trotro station in Takrady. The deceased Abdul, who sustained severe head injuries, was taken to the Fiankwanta Regional Hospital but could not survive. The caretaker of the building, Joseph Kwam, said for the past 7 years, both residents and traders reported several cases to the company to get Glow to relocate its mast, but this has not been successful. Meanwhile, attempts to reach authorities at the Takrady office of Glow proved futile.
On to other stories. Police in Agona and Kwanta have arrested a 23-year-old for possessing a human head believed to be that of a young boy. The suspect, Alex Tete, was arrested at Sankro, a village near Dikove, when he was searching for a potential buyer. According to the suspect, he beheaded the 12-year-old at Bogoso with 2 accomplices. The human head has since been deposited at the Ifia in Kwanta Regional Hospital morgue.
16 persons have been fined 240 cedis each by the Abekan District Magistrate Court for engaging in open defecation and indiscriminate disposal of waste on the streets of Accra. Frederick Clarence Williams reports that the court discharged and freed 1 person who was declared mentally unfit.
In an effort to curtail the seemingly perpetual menace of insanitary conditions in Accra, the Okaikwe Sub-Metro of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly Sanitation Task Force and the Kaneshi Police arrested 17 residents for open defecation and indiscriminate disposal of waste on the streets of Accra. They appeared before the Abekan Magistrate Court. 16 out of the accused persons pleaded guilty and were fined 240 cedis each. 1 offender was discharged and freed after he was declared to be mentally deranged. The District Environmental Health Officer, Joseph Asitanga, expressed shock at the attitude of some residents and warned the Assembly will not relent on its efforts in arresting and prosecuting offenders.
This arrest has become necessary due to the frequent accumulation of refuse on the shoulders of the road. Every corner of the street you pass, a heap of refuse are accumulated, waiting for AMA to come and collect. Every second and minute, the road along the Odoko Highway is always full of refuse. Who is responsible? We cannot determine who is responsible. So early dawn this morning, we decided to carry out this swoop to determine those who are causing this refuse accumulation along the street.
An environmentalist and president of Friends of Rivers and Water Bodies, Nana Jumo Sapong, urged assemblies across the country to enforce their sanitation bylaws.
The past, they've tried all methods and it didn't work. So now if they are embarking on this, I'm telling you, it will bring a change, because laws are made to bring a change. And when you make laws and you enforce them, the change will come. So for me, it's good news.
He congratulated the assembly for the proactive steps it is taking to ensure Accra becomes the cleanest city.
Aviation News 360. Nanekia Mensah Brompa is ready for all the news in the world of business right after this. So stay.
Right, so I'm sure you've had a feel of exactly what expectations are when it comes to the state of the nation. But away from that, now let's do business with me, Nanekia Mensah Brompa. Beginning with tonight, General Secretary of the Industrial and Commercial Workers Union, ICU, Solomon Kote, has urged government to pay particular attention in reviving the collapsing textiles industry to create employment for the youth. Now, since 2014, 780 people have had their jobs in the textile industry down due to downsizing.
If government is thinking of generating new employment avenues, and yet they sit looking on to see these ones collapse, then it's like cos 90, the equation is zero. What have we done? We have not created jobs. We have rather added on to the woes of people to go and lament. So this particular issue of job creation, we think the government must come clear.
Textile sector employers have since 2010 been complaining bitterly about the threats to their survival, possible layoff and shutdown of their businesses.
If I take you to textile, GTP, the place is collapsing. Business is not thriving. We've made petition to the Ministry of Trade and Industry. We've made the causes of the problems at the textiles company, but no clue, no results have been made.
The Industrial and Commercial Workers Union, ICU, says the uncontrolled open market economy in the country is worsening the woes of local industries. This, Solomon Kote thinks, has led to the demise of many textile companies in the country.
As we sit now, textiles company in Cote d'Ivoire are faring and doing far better because they've managed the influx, of Chinese products into their economy. Here, we've opened it, and it is a major backslash, on its.
To some aviation news now, the recent spate in Stabo accident have negatively affected domestic air travels as most passengers are now expressing fear in using domestic airlines. Minister for Aviation Cecilia Dapa, who disclosed this at a breakfast meeting, says steps are being taken, including the modernization of the airports to forestall future challenges.
I believe our third one will be pushed to a time that is convenient also for everybody to be here on time. Because we said breakfast is at 7, and when I walked in at 7:10, there were how many people? 6 or 8. So I believe we should be sticklers for time to make sure we use our time judiciously.
And the Ministry of Finance is preparing to lay before Parliament the Depositors Insurance Bill for consideration. Now, if the bill is passed, depositor funds at the various banks will be insured. And the Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, is highly optimistic the passage of the bill will increase confidence in the banking sector.
Ghana Depositors Protection Act 2016 Act 931 is expected to protect depositors from unforeseen circumstances that may result in loss of funds. The law follows a recent debacle that hit the microfinance sector, resulting in customers of DKM Microfinance and Goddess Love Fan Club, among others, losing millions of Ghana cedis and the recent UT and Capital Bank takeover. According to the law, depositors whose monies got locked up in financial institutions during crisis may receive between 1,250 and 6,250 Ghana cedis in compensation. Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, is optimistic this will increase confidence in the banking sector.
To protect the deposits of the small depositors, boost public confidence in the financial system, and reduce the risks of financial crisis. The scheme imposes on banks, as well as the SDIs, the responsibility to contribute towards the cost of resolution, and therefore would reduce the fiscal cost to the government.
A financial lawyer, Seth Asante, advocated for measures that will ensure the independence of the Insurance Corporation from the Bank of Ghana and other governmental agencies.
I think that having a deposit insurance corporation which is independent of the Bank of Ghana is very important, because it needs to be able to make its own determination of its ability to protect, to give insurance for a particular institution. If it thinks that the institution is running a risky business practice, it should be able to make a determination that that institution will not be covered by a scheme.
The Graphic Stanbic Business Breakfast meeting held on the theme Deposit Insurance Catalyst for a Stronger Banking Sector afforded players in the financial sector the opportunity to deliberate on the merits and demerits of deposit insurance, which has been made mandatory following the passage of the Ghana Deposits Protection Act 2016, Act 931.
Right, so there's more news on our website, it's 3news.com. That will do for now. But don't forget to join us tomorrow. The time is 6 a.m. sharp, talking about the State of the Nation address. My name is Nanikia Mensah-Brampa. Have a good evening.
Welcome back to News 360. Now, the Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture Development is putting in place a regional Premix coordinating committees to combat the diversion of Premix fuel. Now, this is the ministry's intervention following a nationwide Premix diversion scandal that hit the country in the later part of last year, leading to the loss of funds.
Since inception in 1990, the allocation, distribution and sale of Premix fuel, a heavily subsidized product, has been challenged by numerous problems. The original idea was to ensure the timely availability of the product to the fishers at an affordable price, but this has not been fully realized. The government spends colossal sums subsidizing Premix fuel, while those diverting sell to fishers about twice the price, thereby creating artificial shortages. Reacting to recent issues confronting the fisheries sector, the Minister, Elizabeth Afolekoi, expressed concern with the over-concentration on Premix issues.
So anytime Premix is mentioned, I become worried. I ask myself why Ghanaians are more interested in Premix than how to improve upon our fisheries, how to ensure that the fisheries sector grows. You know, these are the things that I am more interested in.
She, however, revealed regional Premix committees are to be inaugurated to oversee the effective management of the fuel.
This is a decision that was taken by the economic management team, that we need to properly monitor the distribution of Premix, the sale and distribution of Premix, to stop all these diversion issues, because the state is losing so much money.
Some stakeholders at a ministerial meeting on combating illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing practices blamed the situation on over-politicization. The Regional Premix Coordinating Committee is expected to, among other things, liaise between the London Beach Committees and the National Premix Fuel Secretariat. They are also to monitor and reconcile Premix fuel dispatch from Tema Oil Refinery to ensure their safe delivery at the designated London beaches.
We are introducing what in the past was being used, that was called the traceability form. We are introducing the daily returns book. We are introducing the monthly returns book. And all these things are going to ensure that accountability is held in high esteem as far as the distribution and management of the premix is concerned.
It's still live here on News 360. Let's turn to some international news this evening.
South Africa's Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa says he's holding direct talks with the embattled President Jacob Zuma over transfer of power. Mr. Ramaphosa, who heads South Africa's governing party, said both he and Mr. Zuma understood the need for a speedy resolution. He said they aim to conclude talks on the president's future within days. It is said to be the first confirmation that Mr. Zuma will step down shortly. The 75-year-old president is facing extensive corruption charges after a turbulent 9 years in power. He has faced increasing pressure to quit since December, when Mr. Ramaphosa replaced him as leader of the ruling African National Congress, ANC. Mr. Ramaphosa said direct talks will be an opportunity to reach an agreement without spreading discord or division. The ANC said there had been fruitful and constructive discussions. An urgent Wednesday evening meeting of the party's top leadership, which has the power to unseat Mr. Zuma, has been pushed back to February 17. Opposition parties are demanding a vote of no confidence to remove the president.
To step it further in South Africa, because South Africans are living in a state of uncertainty as leadership of the African National Congress, ANC, hold talks to have a peaceful transfer of power from Jacob Zuma to his vice. Clement Manhantela is a political news reporter with South African Eyewitness News Agency, saying after 2 failed talks for Zuma to hand over power, the citizenry hope an end is in the offing. Clement Manhantela spoke with Natalie Fort earlier from South Africa.
What impact is all these developments likely to have on South African politics generally?
Well, it's already having a huge impact, I suppose. I mean, in 2008, we already had a similar situation with the then ANC President Thabo Mbeki being recalled, and that led to the formation of the breakaway party at the time, the Congress of the People. So the ANC really suffered in terms of its electoral decline, electoral support, because you had another party being formed, most of ANC members, I suppose, some of them moving into this new political party. And that's why the ANC is trying to handle this issue with the sensitivity, but also the urgency that it deserves. They keep on telling us, because they're trying to avoid what happened in 2008. They want to have an amicable solution to this problem. They don't want to anger President Jacob Zuma's supporters. I mean, if you look at some of the provinces, the president still enjoys a lot of support in one of the provinces called KwaZulu-Natal. He also has a lot of support within his own cabinet. So the ANC is trying to deal with this with the sensitivity that it deserves, so that it doesn't see.
We'll bring you that entire interview with Clemens Manyathena in our subsequent bulletins, news at 10 p.m. Let's now turn to some entertainment news this evening. In entertainment news tonight, the National Commission on Culture and the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture have declared the month of March as Wear Ghana Month. There's more in the following report.
Patronized locally made goods have been unending. The Wear Ghana concept has so far enjoyed great impetus under successive governments. Former President Jerry John Rawlings proudly rocked Ghanaian-made Batakari on T-shirt, and it caught Clinton's eye. For a moment, the former U.S. leader fell for the trend. He dazzled in a black suit and kente from Ghana. In 2004, President Kufuor launched the National Friday Wear Policy, an initiative aimed at projecting a unique Ghanaian identity through the use of local fabrics and designs. Other heads of states have not disappointed in promoting the Ghanaian brand. The National Commission on Culture, through its Wear Ghana concept, intends to further boost the campaign.
The fact that it's made here alone is the first step. Our local designers will get jobs. You are buying the foreign one for 10 cedis because the Italian or the German or the American is buying from his own country. So they are able to make more money. When you and I start wearing Ghana, the price will come down because they will produce more.
It has set aside the month of March for Ghanaians to wear locally designed garments and accessories.
Writing to Parliament soon, before March, we are sending them official letter to that they should also join the campaign. So in the month of March, we want to see them more. I look at the speaker and something made in Ghana.
The project will create jobs and boost the local textile and fashion industry. The Wear Ghana Month will be launched by the Ministry of Tourism, Art and Culture later this month.
Have the banks, please, on Fridays when you go to the banks, Charlie, the place is nice. Please tell them that we are not saving there because of the suits. Their ladies look good when they put on the Ghanaian designs. When you get there and the ladies on Friday, I go to the bank on Fridays to save. Sometimes if I have something small, I'll keep it on Fridays, then I go because the ladies looks.
Yeah, we'll say no to you too, but thank you for staying with us here on News 360. We're grateful on behalf of the rest of the team. Have a good night. My name is Alfred Conte.
And I'm Natalie Forts. There's more news on our website, 3news.com, and news at 10 will simulcast on our sister station, that's 3FM 92.7. Thanks so much for watching. Have an incredible evening.